Today is 2/22/22, or twos a day, right? I'm Ken Dante. I'm president of REOCA. Last year has been a really interesting year. I mean, we're still dealing with COVID. At some point in time, hopefully we can go back to a in-person format. Although I think we'll still retain the Zoom format also, because some people just can't attend. Our membership is actually growing outside of Pueblo. And I believe a lot of that is in part that we're kind of a sponsor to the to a credit union, the Renewable Credit Union in Boulder, and people are joining our organization through them.
Hi, I'm Thomas Blomster. I'm vice president of REOCA presently, and been a solar owner pretty much since I moved down to Pueblo, my wife and I, about 5 years ago. And it's been a real lifesaver for us in terms of our bills from Black Heart Energy, as I like to call them. And this is I just want to state the obvious probably for all of us, but REOCA is going to become even more important than it has just become in the last year or so under Ken's leadership because of the kind of issues that are coming up with IOUs and co-op utility companies and how they want to charge, and kind of some of the monkey business they want to do to us solar owners as well. So I think we're gearing up to try to be a real positive force for solar.
I'm Diane Dante. I am a member of Pueblo Energy's Future, a member of REOCA, of course, and the chair of Bring Power Home, which we're not meeting right now. I'm the webmaster at REOCA. I deal with the membership, and me and Ken collaborate on the newsletter.
Well, hi everybody. I'm Tom Corlett, and I'm a semi-retired leadership in energy and efficient design professional. I have realized that as of today, I have been responsible for installing over 200 kilowatts of solar on the buildings that I've worked on. I'm also a member of Pueblo's Energy Future, and trying to do the best I can to be a chairperson of a membership committee, and anybody that wants to jump on and help is certainly welcome. We're getting a start on that, and hope to really get it cranked up here before too long. So welcome. I'm glad you're here.
Good evening, everyone. Joe Wanaka, REOCA board member, along with the city's Energy Sustainability Commission. Also the director of facilities for Pueblo Community College. I have 2 solar arrays, one on my Johnstown property and one here in Pueblo. Been solar since I think 2012, and then just down here recently since 2018, and love both systems. So advocate for green energy.
I'm Jane Fraser. I'm the retired chair of the Department of Engineering at CSU Pueblo, a member of Pueblo's Energy Future, and I'm on the County Energy Committee. I do not have solar on my house, but we did just replace our heating system with the heat pump. We still have the propane as backup, and so I'm fiddling with that and getting used to it. So
I'm Heather Mayo, and glad to see everybody here tonight, and glad that Charles and John could join us, and we have a full board, it looks like. I've been the secretary for REOCA for I think at least a year now, or a year and a half, and joined Tom on the membership committee. And I have had solar on my house since 2008 after having a visit to NREL and decided I'd get involved, and I revised it in 2019. And now instead of having 25% of my bills paid for, because that '08 system was quite old, I often have the $10 a month bills, but not through the winter. So I wished I could have, but I've used up all my energy credits being transferred around and stuff. But I'm thrilled that I'm cranking out as much as I am and using what I am. So that's fantastic. The other things that I do in the community, I'm Pueblo Partners in Energy and with the county, which is an Excel organization actually. And I do a flip side of all of the green stuff. I'm in Housing and Homelessness Commission as well. And they've signed me up for about 4 different things in there. So I'm pretty busy with unusual things that aren't like in REOCA and energy issues. So
my name's Alex Leary. I've been the treasurer of REOCA for quite a while. I first got involved with solar in 2016 when I had panels put it on my house, and more from an economics view, rather than environmental stuff. But I've come to learn more about the environmental side and the importance, and done a lot of retrofitting on my mid-century house. And so I'm always interested in all the new technology, whether it be energy or kind of building science stuff, trying to make stuff more efficient, at least in my capacity. But I'm also on the membership committee as far as trying to help REOCA increase membership.
My name is John Lewis, and I'm a resident in Southwest Pueblo, Regency Ridge, and my neighbors. And I joined REOCA because I'm a firm believer in solar energy. And it turned out to be a pretty good thing because I got $30 off or so off of my whole house fan that was put in by San Isabel Electric.
Mm-hmm.
And they gave me a discount on that because of my membership. And it's a great way of reducing your energy from your AC system, since you can cool the house off, open your windows, and you can actually, even in the hot part of the summer, not even start an AC system until 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock in the morning, and then turn it off as soon as possible in the evening.
I'm John Zonlow, and I am a rooftop solar owner, have been for, I think this is my fourth year going into. And so I'm just delighted to be rescued, not to have an electricity bill. Haven't had since the first year we put it in. And so it's working great. So very, very enthusiastic, and I'm glad I did it when I did it.
Yeah. Thanks, John. Charles.
I am a solar lease person who got it through Solar City way back in 2012. And I, like John, am nothing but happy with the decision that I made. It's paid for itself over and over. The one thing I regret is that I did not get an EV until just in the last 3 months. We finally bought a 2017 Chevy Bolt, the one that spontaneously combusts. And it hasn't done that yet. And I'm waiting for my new battery and stuff. But I love the car, other than the ride. If you buy one of these things, you better get prepared for some bumps. It rides like a truck. And maybe that's because of the 900 pounds of batteries in it. But anyhow, I'm really grateful that, and I'm waiting to see whether my electric bill is going to go up. I bid at $10 a month. I don't know, I can't remember when I went to that and stayed there. And I've had it since November. My bill still hasn't gone up. So I'm wondering how much electricity I have to use before Black Hills starts charging me. But, and I've been a member of REOCA back about when it started and everything. And I'm glad that we're having a meeting. I've missed these meetings and interested in finding out what everybody else is up to. Thanks.
Thanks, Charles. Thanks, John. We really appreciate your support, by the way. You're two are kind of iconic members. So this is a report on what we did last year. And a little bit towards the end, we'll talk, and we'll have an open discussion. So if you have questions or comments, just feel free to add them in. Our mission and this is to protect and promote distributed renewable energy resources for the economy, the environment, and a sustainable future. We're driven by a strategic plan that we worked on in 2020 and finalized in 2021. It's a living document. We've come back to it a couple times. It needs attention. So we have promote and protect, working with the PUC, things of that nature. But I wanted to go to one of our goals that we didn't meet, is we wanted to be up to 100 members by 2021. And we did not hit that. We've actually been losing membership. It's difficult because we're in this pandemic and meeting remote, and we're trying to improve that. You heard several folks. Tom Corlett is kind of heading the committee to work on membership and understanding what members want and what we need to do to retain them. The board is very active, and we'll show you what the board of directors is doing. We're involved, and we've got our hands in a lot of things. We did take a membership survey last year, focused on the strategic plan. I'm not going to go into that. This year's board, I am the president. Thomas is the vice president. Alex is the treasurer. Alex has been a treasurer throughout our organization. Thank you, Alex, for doing that. Heather is the secretary. Excellent. Diane is a webmaster. Diane is a dynamo. Keeping that web up and operational has been a lot of work. Doing these newsletters is a lot of work. We have some plans to make it easier and maybe share those jobs if we can get interested members. Tom Corlett is new to the board in 22, and Tom comes with a lot of knowledge in energy and building. Jane, a retired professor, again, also a lot of knowledge in energy. Jane, Tom, Diane, and myself, we're all part of this Pueblo Energy Future. We meet weekly to talk about energy issues around Pueblo. Kira Hatton Sienna is involved. Last year she was the chair of the planning committee, and I'll talk a little bit about how that kind of tied into some of the work we did. Mark Holmes is just a dynamo community involved person. He's got his hands in a whole bunch of things. Kizzy Thompson is a master electrician, and it has a lot of knowledge in that area. So, and then Joe is part of the Pueblo City Energy Commission. I am also part of that commission. And we're trying to drive in some improvements to kind of future looking, what we have to do to make Pueblo ready for the electrification of everything. So that is our board. I think if you count that, I think we have 11 people on the board. So we do, our bylaws say we could have up to 12. The departing members from 2020 or 20, yes, 2020, That sounds like a long time ago, but it's, it's not. Nate Baxter, Manny and Roz, Betsy, and then Sheldon Braun. Sheldon passed last year. It was a surprise for all of us. And it hit me pretty hard because Sheldon was kind of an example of how to do energy efficiency. And he was a real humble and kind person, always willing to help. Unfortunately, he passed away, so I just wanted to recognize his service to the group. So let's get into accomplishments. This meeting is actually going to go pretty fast, we early on last year we received a grant, and I can't name the grantor because they wanted to. We signed a confidentiality agreement with them. They wanted us to work in support of renewable energies, and in specific, there was a bill last year, some legislation that they wanted us to support, SB 200. It did not pass, and it was basically they had set up in 2019. They had set up some guidelines for greenhouse gases in the state. Colorado is kind of a leading state in trying to address climate change. So, for instance, they had some greenhouse gas reduction plans that was going to drive that, but there was nobody monitoring that, and that's what SB 200 was going to do. Is going to put some metrics into that legislation that was done in 2019. So we hired a strategies company, Winston Strategies, to run a Facebook campaign that was very successful, by the way, in reaching people. With those funds that we received from this, we also joined Petco because we wanted to push renewable energy manufacturing companies to Pueblo. We were addressing the closing of Comanche 3 by 2034. It looks like that's when it's going to happen, and we wanted to, bring some manufacturing companies, and we thought Petco would be a good thing. We're still working on that. It hasn't gone quite the way we expected because Petco is looking at smaller organizations, mainly in the restaurant and service industry. I mean, they are bringing some small manufacturing in. So we're still working on that. Another thing that happened last year and continued on into this year was there was a solar ordinance introduced by the planning committee. And this is where Kiera came in. She brought up concern about the way this was headed because the solar ordinance was going to really restrict Pueblo in some of these big utility scale solar installations. It was going to cause business to be lost in Pueblo County. And we worked really hard to make sure that ordinance was done correctly. Last month, it got approved with actually the correct law. There were still some things that from a smaller community solar garden aspect, we're going to probably lose some business in that area because they restricted that. But we fixed the major flaws in that ordinance. What happened was the county hired a consulting company that was really focused, that had experience on the East Coast, and their approach was quite different than what we need here in Pueblo. So we did a lot of work on that. The other thing is REOCA and Pueblo Energy Future worked to create a plan for Pueblo. And if you haven't seen this is on our YouTube channel. It was kind of the initial version that we have on the YouTube channel, but what our goal is to promote renewables, and we really see this as a gigantic opportunity as we build out the renewable energy in the United States. It's going to mean that we're going to have to manufacture solar panels, more wind turbines, all that infrastructure, batteries. And there's an opportunity for Pueblo to get some of those manufacturing, and that would improve our tax base. The county commissioners are concerned with the loss of the tax base from the Comanche plant. That would more than replace it. With the work we did with promoting SB 200, we created this legislation committee to track kind of all renewable energy and climate related laws, anything related to our mission. And I'll talk a little bit about that here in some slides later on. A lot of activity in LTEs and op-eds with the chieftain last year. I wrote a couple op-eds. Thomas, Heather, and Jane also did in this energy field. So a lot of thoughtful work went into that. We're trying to be very fact-based in our thinking. Kind of here's what it is from a fact standpoint. And then we received another grant because this nuclear energy came up came up by the county. They introduced this without really giving any input from citizens, and they were pushing this small scale nuclear reactor. So we wanted to get a feel for how the county, how people looked at nuclear versus renewable energy. Couple issues with nuclear that concerned us. One is that nuclear waste stays on site. And if you look into some of the, this nuclear soup sticks around, and if it contains elements like plutonium-239 with a half-life of 24,000 years, you're going to be dealing with that for eternity, right? One kind of rule of thumb, it takes 28 lifetimes to make it to where it doesn't hurt you. So plutonium-239, that's about 600,000 years. And I mean, if you look at what's happening in Pueblo today, we're working on, arsenic contamination from 100 years ago. I don't think we want to have our descendants, dealing with something that we did, 600,000 years in the past. So with this Pueblo poll, what kind of the key milestone is shown below, that in Pueblo County, 61%, kind of a two to one perspective, prefer renewables over nuclear. So it's clear that the citizens of Pueblo don't want a nuclear reactor in their backyard. We're going to roll out this poll in March. KOAA Channel 5 did an exclusive where they talked with the polling company. We use Newbridge as a polling company. This is a scientific poll. So, and they did a sample, kind of a scientific sample of 300 people in Pueblo County. The legislation, PUC, and local government, what we're trying to do is build up skills to kind of track legislation, PUC items, and any government, county, and city issues that we should be addressing. So we set up a legislative committee last year. So this is a tough job, when you're tracking legislation. So we're relying on a lot of resources. A lot of people do this. A lot of organizations track. The Colorado Renewable Energy group does good tracking renewable energy stuff. Sierra Club might have things concerning environmental, and what we do is we kind of pick out the stuff that was of interest. Of course, this SB 200, basically it did not go through. It was kind of rolled into a House bill that had had some of the components of SB 200. Basically, the political support for SB 21 just wasn't there because it meant a lot of accountability.
It's the next one down, Ken.
Yeah.
HB
Okay.
1266.
So this this was a June document, and the legislation kind of was finalized in late June. This did pass. Another thing that was of interest to us is that we had this legislation passed, SB 21-261, that encouraged renewable energy resources. This is actually 200%. So it changed the cap. This one changed it to 200.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. It was 120, right? The legislation said you could build your system up to 120. Now it's 200. I think there's some caveats around that if you're really not consuming the 200, that you might not bank all of it. There's also other things around this that allowed groups to kind of commingle their resources. So if you wanted to build a solar garden, you can net meter out of that solar garden with other people. If you wanted to put a solar array on your apartment building, you could do that, and then the tenants could get those renewable energy credits. So this is just an example of what's going on. We're kicking off on a legislative committee. Diane's kind of running that committee, and we're starting up soon. So if you're interested in those kind of things, let us know, and we'll pull you into that activity. PUC is a little different. Things going on at the PUC right now is that SB 261 I just talked about. Black Hills is trying to work that into to the PUC, and there's some holdup actually. And the holdup is kind of goes against what we want. So it's kind of interesting. Sometimes we might support Black Hills in some of these things. So Excel also, with Comanche plants and them having an energy presence, even though we don't use that energy, there are things of interest. I talked about the solar ordinance. One thing that came out of this nuclear discussion, right, is the county formed the Energy Commission, and Jane is a member of that Energy Commission. So thanks, Jane, for doing that work. That also gives REOCA some visibility in what's going on in that Energy Commission. And I think just recently, the county kind of came out with a statement that they're no longer pursuing nuclear. And I think that was a lot of the work that this organization, Nuclear Free Pueblo, which a lot of folks are involved in, and also this poll that REOCA did, showing that it's really not very popular. The city of Pueblo started an Energy Commission, and this Energy Commission actually came out of Pueblo Energy Future, showed the mayor that, hey, maybe we looked into the franchise agreement with Black Hills, and in there they talked about kind of an oversight committee, and the mayor took the ball and created this Pueblo Energy Advisory Commission, and both Joe and myself are members of it. These things are kind of slow to congeal, but after about 6 months of working on this, I think it's headed in the right direction. So Joe and I are involved in reducing consumption. And the idea here is that over the next couple decades, we're going to go 100% electric with everything. We're going to stop using fossil fuels, and what needs to happen to make that palatable to people is that we need to improve our buildings. Yeah, I come from an engineering background. I like network diagrams, and this kind of shows all the things that we were working on and who's working on it. So this is the board of directors, and I probably didn't capture everything that people are doing, But I've been doing a lot of work with this climate action network group, people around Colorado working on climate issues. There's an EV council out of Denver that follows EVs. A lot of good information out of that. Joe and I are kind of connected into that. Sheldon was really well connected into that and interested in, because he's an EV customer or owner. And there's probably other people in here. I listen a lot to this Clean Energy States Alliance. This is a nonprofit in the I'm not sure whether I want to say Washington, D.C., but that may not be correct. But they have a lot of interesting things about renewable energy, battery storage, and they also fund a lot of work across the country. There's this Drive Clean Colorado organization working to promote EVs. Excel Partners, Heather mentioned some of the work, and I know that Heather, Joe, and Tom have worked on this. I have too. But with all the things that we're doing, I've kind of had to drop that. This Pueblo Energy Advisory Commission, I talked about, Joe and I be members. I'm also connected with, REOCA is connected with COSA. COSA is this Colorado Solar and Storage Association. Basically the businesses that are installing solar and all the way, through utility scale stuff. And there's like wealth of knowledge in that group. It's really been useful to me to kind of understand where the issues are in Colorado. They helped a lot with this county ordinance that just got approved. Pueblo's Energy Future is a great group of people. We sit around and talk about what things are feasible in this energy environment, what things we should promote, what things we can't, because there are bad actors out there that want to take advantage of situations. So we kind of talk about the best methods, the cheapest way to make electricity, the fastest way to slow down greenhouse gases, things of that nature. Because of the nuclear reactor proposal in Pueblo's Nuclear Free Pueblo organization came together, a lot of participants. Pueblo Economic Development Council, and because we had the money from grants, we decided to join this organization to see if we couldn't promote getting a renewable manufacturing company in there. We're still pursuing that, although we're a little discouraged because Petco seems to this energy piece is really not in their portfolio, and I think we're going to try to change that. As I mentioned, Kara was the planning, the chairman of this. She's dropped this job, but she did this through the entire last year, so I wanted to make sure she got credit for that. And she brought a lot of the issues to our attention that things were going to go bad with this new solar ordinance. So we kind of engaged and educated ourselves and contributed to making sure that was improved. This County Energy Commission, Jane is part of that. And there's a Pueblo County comprehensive plan that just got approved, a gigantic plan for the future of Pueblo County. And there's a big energy segment in that. So we're gonna dig into that energy piece and understand it. A lot of activities. So we're really engaged, and this is paying off in big ways because we're recognized in the state as a place to come. If you're interested in what Pueblo is doing, REOCA and Pueblo Energy Future is well recognized. We do have a YouTube channel. So these are some of the videos that were produced last year. The report from last year, Roz has that. Also in that meeting, we brought in Scott Denning, who's a climate scientist, and he had a great presentation on that. I talked a little bit about this renewable energy prosperous Pueblo. We have a video on this. This was the initial presentation. And then John brought in this guy from Utah that was I'm not saying the word right. He was kind of reusing car batteries in energy storage around the house. So he was doing all these experimenting, kind of the typical do-it-yourselfer type guy. So we had that presentation also. We're looking at the help, so we want to get more membership involved. And if you have ideas on how to do that, we're open to listen to that. We're probably going to talk to a lot of members through the membership committee. But communication is difficult. And I think we could do we know we could do a better job of this with some regular newsletters, maybe getting to the point where people are anticipating those showing up in their email box, monthly or something of that frequency. This was made complicated by some of our software systems that we use. Also, the website support was making it difficult. So really the only person that could do this communication stuff, member management stuff, was Diane, the webmaster, because all these things required knowledge of how the web works. And we're going to change that this year. So we heard Tom talk about the membership committee. We're going to improve that and try to communicate better with our membership, do things that the members want us to do. I talked a little bit about this legislative committee. We're going to do legislative and PUC track, and I don't know if this will be one group doing both, but that should congeal better this year. And I think we learned a lot last year on how to do this, so that it's going to be more effective for us. REOCA does have one board seat, and a board member basically comes to monthly board meetings, helps us with our strategic planning, and works in outside work to help drive our influence.
I'd just like to address a little bit about COSA in terms of our membership with it. And I actually went up and spent I spent one day at the COSA convention beginning of February, which was certainly very informative, and learned some really great stuff, and I think some usable information for us in Pueblo as we move forward. But I have to say that organization is really kind of geared more to the people that are installing and working with solar, and not so much to probably citizens like ourselves. Not that I don't think we're welcome. We are. I guess the one thing I'd be concerned about is kind of where we spend our money and our time and effort. I think Ken, you probably have other reasons or good reasons for having a connection to COSA. I'm just not sure. Do we have like a yearly membership to COSA?
Well, it's kind of granted because of our work with COSA, right? We're considered a partner.
Okay, good.
And I go to a kind of a bi-monthly meeting where they talk about things, and they're useful in the aspect that they're working with the PUC.
Oh yeah, I mean there's so much information from that group. I definitely agree with that. I would just say that they're not. I didn't see them particularly be an advocacy group for like private citizens like most of us in this organization.
They're an industry group, right? They're representing the industry. So you need to take that perspective into account. Their president, Mike Kruger, he actually owns a solar installer company called EcoMark, pretty well known in Denver and Colorado Springs. They're even down here in Pueblo. So John, you had a question, you had your hand raised.
Well, I appreciate your presentation, Ken, and I'm kind of can sleep better at night knowing that you're monitoring the legislation, and I think we had a scare a number of years ago with Black Hills that would have significantly impacted the investment decisions we had made in regard to going to solar by some of the things that they were going to do after the fact. So I appreciate that vigilance. but I'd like to see more, maybe not a monthly membership meeting, but I enjoyed going to the meetings. I learned a lot from other REOCA members that had been into rooftop solar longer and were experimenting with things like home storage management. And so things that allow just our members to be able to share some of the more innovative things that they've done to make their systems more efficient, to make their houses more efficient, right? To reduce the energy consumption, and experiments in what people are doing with batteries, right? Home storage. That's going to be the next big thing for rooftop solar is having storage options that are more affordable.
Right. Yeah, I think we're going to see some big things in storage, in the future years. There's going to be a lot of there might be some incentives for us to go with batteries, and the cost of batteries are going down too. So yeah, storage is definitely kind of on the radar, and so if you know something about it, John, let us know. But I agree, I mean, part of the value of a community like ours is seeing what other people are doing, right? You brought a lot of value into the group in your discussions. One of the things that I did put in our newsletter, this last spring and summer, we had a hailstorm out at our house, so my roof was damaged, and I learned some things. That I should have done differently. One is to protect your investment, because these systems today are warranted for 25 years, right? So you don't want somebody touching it that can cause that that warranty to go away. My solar panels weren't damaged, but my roof was, and my gutters were. We were pounded with a hailstorm for about an hour. It wasn't because it was gigantic hailstorm. It just sat around and went from pea size to golf ball size, but the solar system was unaffected, right? And if you when you're working with insurance companies and contractors, they want to get the job done quickly as possible. And I think if you delay those things, because in Black Hills, we're still in its bank system, and you want to maximize that bank. So you want the work done when there's the lowest impact, and that typically is probably around October. Actually, Steve Andrews, one of our members, takes really good data on this. So his comment was, do it, sometime between April and February, or not April, excuse me, October through February is the best time to do it. Anyway, so we got through it. Our solar system's back up. I'm building bank. When you do have this solar and you're not generating power, it's painful, right? At least to me, it was like, hey, I really missed this, because this is the one home improvement you can do that actually pays you money, right? So I'm sorry, John, did you have any other observations?
And I mean, I'm recalling from what you shared, when Ryan did that presentation with us about what he was doing with the Nissan batteries, he made just kind of an offhand suggestion that, I mean, it made all the sense in the world, and it really made a difference in my summer energy consumption. And his suggestion was, because I was always conservative, running the air conditioner, I kind of let it get a little warm, and then in the evening it just was too hot, to sleep, and so I'd bump up the air conditioner. And he said, that's the worst time. You're drawing, energy off the grid. And so we started about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, cooling the house down while we still were having the sun hitting the panels, and cool it down a couple of degrees lower than I might normally. But that allowed me to get it in through the evening and typically not have to turn the air conditioner back on. And so I didn't have to draw from my reserve to do that. And, it was free energy to be able to cool that house down while that sun was hitting my panels. So it's those kinds of suggestions and tips that I think our members and people come up with that I'd like to see a forum to be able to share so that we can all benefit from them.
Right. Yeah. Okay. I'm hoping that, I mean, I was thinking that last year we, get back to normal, but I'm hoping, I'm hopeful, let me put it that way. I'm hopeful that this year we could do that. But if push comes to shove, we could still have this format and get the people, one thing that this format does allow us is to bring people in, like this gentleman from this off-grid, desert company, right? Because he was in Utah, so, he could kind of join those things too. We could do that in a in-person meeting too. We just, have to have the Zoom meeting working also.
The orientation of my house is not totally conducive to solar energy. I've had a couple presentations by solar equipment salespeople, and I haven't really decided to bite the bullet yet because frankly, I don't know how long I'll be in Pueblo. I am getting up there in age, so it is not, but I am having a new AC humidifier and furnace put in sometime early this year. I paid half down already with Larry's Electric over there in Union, and they sell Train, which is a good brand. So that's going to be coming, and hopefully because we the existing system I have, the AC unit went out in August. And so we used a series of fans and open windows and a whole house fan to keep it cool enough in August, and then so forth. So what I have been a little disappointed as far as Pueblo County is that we're a big county, and we get a certain amount of NIMBYism on solar installations proposals. And that's too bad. People worried about the glare, worried about the size, they're worried about what's underneath, the killing of the whatever is underneath. What I've seen is that I've seen good installations on more of a commercial basis where they actually cover parking lots. So the cars are all in a shaded area. That happens in Las Cruces, New Mexico, at the swimming pool there. The community rec center has all their entire parking lot is covered with solar power, solar collectors. I've seen a lot of rooftop, some places. So it's really what it boils down to, folks, is that you need to have the political will within your own city council, within your city county commissioners, to have building requirements, to instill building requirements for applications, whether it be a new, say, for example, and some Walmarts actually have solar collectors all throughout their Walmart roof. So, I've been an advocate of democratizing, diversifying energy. I'm certainly opposed to nuclear energy. I was in Hobbs, New Mexico when they started the the pilot project in Carlsbad, New Mexico, in the salt domes. And I was very opposed to that. And we have that actually was shut down because of a leakage. And so it's one of those situations where you talk about job security, half of 500,000 years on low-level nuclear waste. So I can't understand why somebody like Bill Gates wants to think there's a little mini nuclear plant that would be useful. And because there is that waste problem. So anyway, I'm off track.
No, I appreciate the feedback, because I think we share a lot of the same ideas, right? So one of the things that Joe Wannick and I are working on, because we're part of this City of Pueblo Energy Commission, is that we're asking them to make sure that if they build any new city buildings, that they're net zero buildings, right? So they're powered by solar energy. They're going to be building a bunch of fire stations around town. We're hoping that those things could be net zero, in a fire station, probably would be a
It's-
perfect application of a battery, right?
It's a little complicated. I come from Loveland, where the electrical company is part of the city, where the water is part of the city.
Yep.
So when you're dealing in Pueblo with Black Hills, it's kind of a hands-off situation, unfortunately, and the same thing occurs with water. I made a report for the city, or excuse me, Pueblo Waterworks on their water efficiency program, which they have to file with the state.
Mhm.
I was the only one to provide information because they essentially do not, they say they have public meetings, but they really don't. So the city council in Pueblo is hands off on the water board, and they're also hands off on the electric. So where do you start?
Yeah.
Black Hills doesn't want to save electricity, they want to sell electricity. The right to solar may or may not be well known by the homeowners, or
Right.
may not be promoted or even allowed
Right.
in some of the.
You're hitting an
service
important point,
plans.
and one of the reasons that we exist is to protect those rights, right? So, and to promote solar.
Yeah,
Thanks for attending. Thanks for being a member. Thanks, everybody, for all your help. And have a nice evening.